Right, this is the special right triangles worksheet. So we had two different types of special right triangles. We had 30, 60, 90, and 45, 45, 90. This video is going to go over the 30, 60, 90 right triangles. And there'll be a second video on the 45, 45, 90 right triangles. Okay, so a right triangle is defined as having a triangle that has a right angle. So we have a triangle that has a right angle. It's 30, 60, 90, right? The right angle is the 90 degrees. 30, 60, 90 because the other angles are 60 degrees and 30 degrees. 30 plus 60 is 90. 90 plus 90 is 180, right? The triangle sum theorem, the three angles of the triangle add up to 180. 30 plus 60 plus 90 is 180. Our right triangles have two legs and a hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is across from the right angle. Okay, and then the legs are adjacent to the right angle. For our 30, 60, 90 triangles, we have two equations we're going to use. Okay, one is that the hypotenuse is going to be 2 times the short leg, and then the second is the long leg is the short leg times the square root of 3. Okay, we'll talk later about why those numbers are there, but for now we're just going to take them for granted. Okay, so the last thing we need to talk about is short leg or long leg. So the hypotenuse is the longest side of the triangle because it's across from the largest angle. Okay, and then our two legs are across from the 60 degrees and the 30 degrees. Okay, 60 is larger than 30, obviously. So across from the larger angle, the 60-degree angle is the long leg. Across from the shorter angle is the short leg. So our two legs are adjacent. The leg that's across from the 30 degrees is the short leg, and the leg across from the 60 degrees is the long leg. Okay, and then the longest side total is the hypotenuse, which is across from the largest angle, which is 90 degrees. All right, number 1. Okay, we got to find the value of x and y for each of these. All right, so let's write our two equations out. We had the hypotenuse. I'm just going to write short or long. Okay, equals the short leg times. Well, I'll write it out for this one at least. Short leg times 2. Okay, that's a multiplication dot. Make it a little bigger. Short leg times 2. And then the long leg equals the short leg times the square root of 3. Okay, the hypotenuse across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. So that is y. The short leg, so this is 90 and 60, so our other angle is going to be 30. 30, 60, 90 triangles. The three angles have to add up to 180. So 90 plus 60 is 150. 180 minus 150 is 30. So the short leg is across from the 30-degree angle because the 30-degree angle is the smaller of the two angles. So across from the 30-degree angle, the smaller angle is 8. And then we have times 2. 8 times 2 is 16. So y is 16. Okay, the long leg is across from the larger angle. That's 60, so the long leg is x. The short leg we said was y. And then we have multiplied by the square root of 3. So x is going to equal 8 times the square root of 3. 8 square root of 3. So the long side is the short side times the square root of 3. And the hypotenuse is the short side times 2. Okay. Number 2. Okay, I'm just going to erase the numbers. Okay. Okay. So the hypotenuse in this one is x. The short leg is across from the shorter angle, so it's going to be 1/2 multiplied by 2. So x equals 1/2 times 2, which is 1. Okay, the long leg is across from the longer side, so that is 60. The short leg is across from the shorter side, that's 1/2. I'm sorry, this is y. Okay, across from the 60 is y. And then we have times the square root of 3. Short leg times the square root of 3. So that's going to be the square root of 3 over 2, which is 0.8666, I believe. So square root of 3 over 2. It's an interesting triangle we have there. Number 3. So number 3, before we write it out, I just want to point out we don't need to be using these formulas the whole time. Okay, if we understand what we're doing. Okay. So we know this is going to be 60. So we know 14 is the short leg. We know the hypotenuse is twice the length of the short leg. So the hypotenuse is going to be 14 times 2, which is 28. Okay, and we know the long leg is going to be the short leg times the square root of 3. So 14 square root of 3. We want to put it in the equation to be more formal, right? That just means the hypotenuse is x. So 14 times 2, which is, as we said, 28. The long leg is y. So the short leg is 14 times the square root of 3. Number 4. 4 and 5. Again, number 4, we don't even need to really write the formulas out if we don't want to. If you need to, that's perfectly fine. But here's our short leg, 12. So the short leg, the hypotenuse is twice the length of the short leg, so this should be 24. And then this should be the short leg times, this is the long leg, so the short leg times the square root of 3. Let's check the math and see, make sure we get that right. So the hypotenuse is x. The short leg is 12. It's across from the 30 degrees. And we multiply by 2, so x is 24, which is what we got. Again, long leg was y, opposite the larger angle. Okay, so that is y. Short leg is 12 times the square root of 3. Okay, so those are pretty, we don't even need to write the formulas out. Okay. Number 5. Okay, so number 5. Hypotenuse is y. Okay, short leg is going to be x, right? That's our 60, so that means that's our 30. Opposite the 30-degree angle is x. That's our short leg. So x times 2. Okay, so that means we have 2 variables in one equation, so we can't solve for either x or y. Let's look at our other equation. The long leg is across from the 60 degrees. That's 12. Is going to be equal to the short leg, which is x, times the square root of 3. To solve for x, we can divide by the square root of 3. Okay, and we're going to get x. So 12 divided by the square root of 3 should give us 6.9. 6.9, I believe. I think this was the 6.9 one. 12 divided by...
Students, at this time, if you are not being supervised by an adult, you must exit the building and have a nice weekend. Thank you.
Square root of 3, 6.9. Okay, 6.9. All right, so that's x. 6.9. Right, and then we can plug that in, substitute that in. So we get y equals 6.9 times 2, which is 13.8. Right, and that makes sense because the hypotenuse is twice the length of the short leg. Okay, number 6. Okay, so let me solve this. Number 6. But yeah, I'm supposed to be trying to write lighter, so the sound of the pen doesn't make as much noise. But anyways, hypotenuse. Opposite the right angle, that's y. Then I write slower, so I'd rather have speed and annoyance than inefficiency. Short leg is opposite the smaller angle, so here's our, that's 60, so it's got to be 30. So our short leg is x, opposite 30 degrees, times 2. So again, same issue as last one, is number 5. So let's go to the other equation. Long leg is 8. Short leg is x. How do we solve for x? We got to divide both sides by the square root of 3. Then we get x equals, I believe it was 4.6. It was 4.6188. We can round though. Okay, and then we know the hypotenuse is going to be twice this, so that's going to be 9.2. If we want to formally put it in, y equals 4.6 times 2, which is 9.2. Y is 9.2. Yes. All right, number 7. We got hypotenuse. Again, equals the short leg times 2. And we have the long leg equals the short leg times the square root of 3. So hypotenuse is 11. The short leg is across from the 30-degree angle. So that's going to be x times 2. We can divide by 2. We get 5.5 equals x. 5.5. Like the hypotenuse is double the short side. Okay, and then right away we know the long side, the long leg is going to be 5.5 times the square root of 3, right? Because the long leg is y, short leg is 5.5 times the square root of 3. And we can put that as a decimal if we wanted to. I don't know, it'd be 7 point something maybe. Okay, or we can leave it as 5.5 times the square root of 3. Okay, number 8. Hypotenuse is 6. Short side is, and that's 60. This one's 30. Short side is x. Okay, divide by 2. X equals 3. Again, the short leg is half the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is twice the short leg. Okay, the long leg is y. So that's our short leg times square root of 3. So 3 square root of 3. Okay, and then number 9, which really isn't much different, but I think it confused a couple people. I don't have room here. Okay, it's going to be just like the other ones, though. Okay, so this is a right angle. This is also a right angle. This is 90, and that's 60. The third angle has to be 30. So the hypotenuse is across from the right angle. So the hypotenuse is 16. Okay, our two legs are adjacent to the right angle, so x and y are the legs. The short leg is across from the 30-degree angle. The long leg is across from the 60-degree angle. So the short leg is x times 2. Divide both sides by 2. We get 8 equals x. Right. The hypotenuse is twice the short leg, so 8 times 2 is 16. The long leg is y. The short leg is 8, so 8 square root of 3. So our triangle here is 16, 8, 8 square root of 3. Here's our 60, here's our 30. 10 and 11 talk about the altitude of an equilateral triangle. Well, actually, I don't know what 11 says, but haven't read 11 yet. It does talk about the altitude. So equilateral triangle. Equilateral meaning all the sides are the same. Okay, they tell us those sides are 10. But we do know about the angles of a equilateral triangle. We know the angles are all 60, right? Because 180 divided, all the angles are congruent. So 180 divided by 3, that gives us 60, 60, and 60. But the altitude is basically it's the height. So we're going to take the top point and bring it straight down. Okay. And we're going to split the base in half into 5 and 5. And we split that 60-degree angle into 30 and 30. Okay, and we're going to call the altitude x. That's what we're trying to find. Okay. So we'll have right angles here. So here's our 30, 60, 90 triangle. We're trying to find x. X is not, the 10 is the hypotenuse. 5 and x are the two legs. The 5 is across from the 30, so the 5 is the short leg. The x is across from the 60, so the x is the long leg. We know the long leg equals the short leg times the square root of 3. So the long leg is x, the short leg is 5. So x is going to equal the 5 times the square root of 3. So the altitude equals 5 root 3 inches. Number 11 is the last one for the 30, 60, 90 side. So again, here's our altitude. So it's equilateral, so we know the altitude is 18. Find the length of a side. So we're trying to find x. Call it this one. And we know these are right angles. We know these are 60 degrees. It's 60 degrees. We know we had a 60-degree angle, but we split it in two. So 30 and 30. Okay, we're trying to find the hypotenuse. We know the hypotenuse equals the short leg times 2. Okay, we don't know what the short leg is, though. We'll call it y. Okay, so we got to find the short leg. But we do know the long leg. So the short leg is opposite the 30 degrees. The long leg is opposite the 60 degrees. So we know the long leg is 18. So the long leg is equal the short times root 3. So the long leg is 18. We call the short leg y. To solve for y, we have to divide by the square root of 3. So y is going to be equal to 18. Where is, okay, 18 divided by square root of 3. 10.4. 10.39, so we'll round up to 10.4. Okay, whoops. Okay, so we know y is 10.4. And we know the short side then, right? That's what we're solving for. Y was the short side, so the short leg. So the short leg is 10.4. We know the hypotenuse is double the short leg, so we know it's going to be 20.8. Right? X is going to equal the short leg, which is 10.4, times 2, which is 20.8 inches. So that's the special right triangle. That's the first half. The second half, which we'll do in class on Monday. So this was from Friday, February 22nd. We'll do in class Monday, the 25th, Friday, February 25th. We'll do the 45 leg.